Hey, Anish Majumdar here, career coach and expert in the hidden job market. Thank you for being here. What are we here to talk about? You're going to see it scrolling right across your screen. How to stop interview backsliding. And don't worry if you don't know what that is, we're going to talk about that, right? And cut down on employer ghosting and late stage rejections in the process. This is a hugely important topic that employers are just not going to tell you, because interview backsliding only hurts one party here. It hurts job seekers. It hurts candidates. So there's no real vested interest for them to make your job and your life easier, right? Not if it gives them an additional point of leverage, which this type of behavior does. And I can promise you, if you're not already doing this, backsliding in interviews, you have been doing it. We've all done it. All right. I'm going to teach you exactly what we're talking about here, what's going on, what you need to be aware of. Now, one thing that I would really appreciate before we get into it, hop on over to LinkedIn. Every day, my team and I, we're sharing daily career tips, job search advice directly from our work with executives and leaders, tapping into the hidden job market and showing you, hey, this is working, this is not. This is BS. This is what you need to be looking out for. Here's how you make that change. If you're interested in that, hop on over. I would sincerely appreciate it. Hit me up, shoot me a follow, stay in contact that way. All right. So let's get into this topic, right? Why don't we start with saying, what is interview backsliding? Because it's something that goes by more than one term. I've termed it, but you'll know it when you're experiencing it. So let me put a couple of images in your mind right now that go to the heart of this type of behavior, okay? You're a VP, senior VP level candidate looking at your third interview, and all of a sudden you get an email to say, hey, we want you to make this a 15-page presentation. You're going to be presenting to the entire board. We want to see exactly what you have. And full stop. They're not asking you, you just do. And now you've got a new task. Here's another one. You're deep into the interview process to the point where you understand, right? Like say you're going to be tasked with heading up the tech strategy. You understand, not in a general job description way, you now understand how that is impacting this company. You guys are in the midst of talking about implementation strategy. Now, all of a sudden, a new person comes in and starts asking you ancient history questions, stuff that honestly you're way past, right? And you don't know what to do except to just answer, right? You're in the interview process, right? How about this one? You're asked to jump through last minute hoops, unexpected hoops. Hey, come on in for a late stage meet and greet, right? Or come on in for this, or come on in for this assessment. Long after the point where any of that would come in, right? And you have no choice. You find yourself in a stress interview. They don't tell you what it's going to be. You come in there, they're literally psychologically pushing you around, right? And not giving you any details. Finally, here's another just example, just a simple one. And I want you to think, has any of these applied to me? Here's one. They were very, very receptive to you at the start, but the more you engaged with their process, the less receptive they became. At the beginning, it was easy to get them on the phone, easy to follow up with them, easy to move it forward. Now 2 interviews, 3 interviews, sometimes 2, 3, 4 months in, you cannot get them on the phone. You've invested all of these hours, you've invested all of this time in good faith, you've gotten nothing for it. Not only have you gotten nothing for it, you're worse off than you were when you started. What's going on here, guys? What's happening? What is happening? The primary reason for all of this is coming from a good place, but we've got to identify it. You're trying to be a good student. You're trying to be a good employee when you are neither of those things. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news to those of you who just want to keep your head down, do what you need to do. But let me be very, very clear about this, okay? If you have not accepted an offer, if you have not started a role and moved it forward, you are not an employee. That is not your relationship here. And to pretend that way is the same as basically showing up for a first date. And rather than having any point of view, any standards, you basically say, hey, I'm here. Anything you want from me, everything is fine. Everything is great. You're not there to be a good student. Your time to be a good employee is once you're there and you know what's going on. But until you are, what you are is a 50-50 negotiator. Okay? Let me repeat that. Until you accept an offer, and ideally even after you accept an offer, you are a 50-50 negotiator. That means you're not going in there to do whatever they say. You're not there to say yes to everything. You're not supposed to say yes to everything. This is what I'm trying to impart to you guys. A big part of the reason you got passed over for offers has nothing to do with whether you would have done that job great. You would have done an amazing job. You sent out the wrong signals. You sent out the signals of someone who does not know where they are, someone who does not understand what their goals are and has no standards. So the more that you say yes and try to be amenable, the more your VP status is actually getting shot in the foot. The more your unique competitive advantage is getting shot in the foot. Stop being a good employee. Stop being a good student. Stop it. It's time to start learning how to say no. It's time to start learning how to have a backbone. American workers get screwed over way more than almost any major country out there. And it is time to change. And that change starts with you, if you have the courage, if you believe in yourself and your loved ones enough. I'm sick and tired of having people get screwed over and then sit back home and blame some other entity. It's not always that. If you're backsliding, if you're just a yes man or a yes woman, understand you are failing at the one job that you have there as you're going through the hiring process. So that has to change. So I want you to start asking yourself today, okay, before you commit to exploring an opportunity, before you commit to looking at an employer, a job, opportunity, anything, I want you to ask yourself, hey, based on where I am in my journey for what I do, what are my goals? In this first interview, what is the information that I need? Generally speaking, you're never going to get one piece of honesty in a job posting. Why would they? Right? They want to safely bring candidates in, vet them at a distance, bring in the person that they need. But the thing is, if all you do is that, you never get close, you never understand strategically what's going on, you have no leverage in the process, and they actually are shooting themselves in the foot by going through it that way. You've got to break it. And the way you break it is asking yourself, hey, what are my goals in this first interview? And how can I focus on doing two things. One, building real rapport, establishing my authority here, right? My unique value. And two, identifying what is actually going on at this company. In other words, what is really driving this hire? What is the pain? What are the facts on the ground? What are the details? The more you can start digging in there, the more your expertise is demonstrated through your questions. And the more you're getting the leverage that you need, that information. If you're not doing that, you're doing nothing in that interview. If you're sitting down, sliding your resume over, come on. I'm going to assume you're not fresh out of high school here. We've got to evolve. We have got to get more sophisticated about this. I am sorry if that is not what you want to hear. I know there's a lot of people who would rather not be bothered, but this is not the time for you to profit. This is not the time for you to get successful. You've got to bother. You've got to think about what it is that I'm doing here. If you say you're a chief technology officer, why are you not challenging the assertions of someone who has no tech background in terms of where that company is going when you know better? Why aren't you challenging, right? In that first interview, I don't care how much of a love fest it is, challenge yourself to identify at least one or two moments where you can disagree, paint an alternate view, make it clear you've got some backbone there. Because on the other side of the job, you're going to be reliant on defining what that strategy is. So if you don't take some kind of ownership process, and ownership is the magic word here, if you don't take some kind of ownership process over the hiring, 50-50, right? You're never going to establish that after the role. And you have to, if you need to get buy-in from the people that you need to do this job successfully. Because it's not just about getting the job, it's about actually doing it successfully too, isn't it? So here are some questions I want you to ask yourself as you go through every hiring process that will stop you from this backsliding, okay? And by the way, the reason this is going to cut down, okay, big time on the ghosting and the late stage rejections, okay? You find out faster through taking an ownership process in this, through figuring out what do I need, what's right, is this BS, is this relevant? Sorry, we shouldn't be talking about this right now. I think right now, based on where we are, based on the time frame that I see, what we need to be talking about is an offer, what we need to be talking about are specifics there, and anyone else that needs to get involved between now and then. What do you think about that? What would be a holdover there, right? So you find out faster whether you actually want to be doing business with people. Remember, in this title, it says, how do I cut down on ghosting and late stage rejections? I'm not saying, look, you're not meant to bamboozle people you're never meant to work with, right? If people are frauds, if people are hiring for an executive, for example, but what they really want is someone to rub the boot on. I know someone I was coaching right now who just passed on a job as a director of innovation. Fantastic job on paper, right? But what they really wanted is a babysitter. They're closing that shop down. Of course, I don't blame someone like that for passing on it. So understand, right? You're going to find out faster by holding people accountable with greater ownership over the process. You're going to understand faster whether you wish to be doing business with them. You're going to understand whether they have a clear strategy for the hire. In other words, when something goes off the rails right there, you're going to be able to say, hey, last time, and I want you to think about this, in every interaction that you have notes, okay? Have notes for yourself in terms of what did we cover? What were the areas that we covered? What were the topics that were covered? So if you're talking with someone else in the organization later on and they say, hey, let's go over through back history, you can literally say, hey, we've already covered that. Here are some of the major takeaways from that. Here's what I would like to actually ask you now that I have you here. What do you think about this? You've got to keep it in the present and you've got to hold the line. You're not going to do that by just invisibly sitting there answering questions, walking away. Golly gee, I hope they call me back for an interview. It just makes no sense, right? So have those notes so you can actually hold a bit of a line there. Don't assume that employers just have this perfect setup. And if you're holding them accountable and you notice they have no strategy for actually this hire, they're making it up as you go along, run. Don't walk away. Run from this company. Because if a company can't even figure out something as relatively simple as how to hire someone of quality in the right way, I guarantee you they have no idea how to help make your job successful. You're going to be cast into the deep end, and then they're going to blame you for everything, right? Including the lack of structure, right? You're also going to establish a much higher authority frame through this kind of ownership and challenge mentality right from the outset, and you've got to do that. Remember what I said, 2 to 3 challenge opportunities. Finally, late-stage rejections rarely happen when unless there are layers of deception and going on with at least one, if not more parties. I don't know one time where someone got rejected at the 4th, 5th, 6th one where either them or the employer they just weren't willing to be honest with themselves. How much denial was going on? How many red flags about this employer did you ignore? But there's no other interviews in your life, are there? So what choice do you have, right? So all of this starts to minimize when you go down this path. And let me give you some examples of questions you should always be asking yourself through every stage of the hiring process to ensure you don't backslide. Why are we doing this? What is the point of this type of question? What is the point of the information we're going to get here? What is the truth of what's going on? Is that nice to hear, or is that what's actually going on here? Listening with all of your senses, including behaviorally, in that conversation, especially to senior level leaders. Is this relevant to what we're trying to do? Don't ask me a general question. I'm a career coach. I have nothing to offer you in terms of financial advice, right? So there's a minimal amount of patience I'm going to have about that if we're on the clock, right? I want to know about your career. I want to know about what's going on and what we can do to make it better now, right? Is this relevant? Is this bringing us closer or further away to our goal? Is it time to stop preambling and jump into the solve? I can't tell you the number of offers that have been passed on, like that never went into the offer, simply because the main contact that you had at that company, they're waiting for you to say that. You did your work. You set the authority. You set it up the right way. They're waiting for you to say it, right? To say it. Let's go. Let's structure the offer. Okay, if you think it's right, no one gives themselves that authority. They die on the vine waiting. Take it. Ask for it. Structure it. Offers are common. Offers are boring in your world. Offers are nothing in your world. It's easy. Stop treating it like something precious that's going to fall apart the second you stop looking at it, okay? So remember these questions. Remember where we're going here. And if you want to take full control over all of this, right? You're going to see a link right now. Tap the hidden job market/ASAP. This will teach you and show you the latest version of the masterclass that I've put together for me and my clients and for everyone who I've ever worked with. They've all seen it. It's a free training. It's about 50 minutes long, 50. Have your resume and LinkedIn profile up. We're going to be going deep, and I'm going to be showing you end to end how to totally get out of this trap forever. Start generating dream offers your way. If you're interested, do something about it, and I will see you there. Talk soon, guys.